What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making this delicious smothered chicken that is inspired by Ruth Chris. Had it a couple weeks ago. It was delicious. Thought I'd come home and I'd make it for myself, and I'm here to share that recipe with you all. So let's get right into it. Obviously, the first thing we're going to go over is the controversial item, which is washing your meat. It's up to you whether you wash your meat. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your own meat. Wash it, don't wash it. But as you see, I wash it here. A good rinse, and meat's all ready. Now, to your cutting board of choice, I'm going to cut away all the extra bits and fat off of the chicken breast. Want a really clean chicken breast for this meal, so just cutting away all the fat and bits and stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and butterfly that chicken. And to butterfly, all it is just finding the middle point of the chicken, taking your knife, cutting alongside that middle, but you want to cut all the way through. You want to make like a pocket inside the chicken. So now that I have all of my breasts butterflied, I'm going to give them a quick pat dry. I want the seasoning to really stick because I am going to do a dry brine, which is just seasoning the chicken, no liquids, just straight dry seasoning. I'm going to put that into the fridge for at least an hour, open air, so that way the fridge has some time to dry out the meat and allow that seasoning to actually penetrate into that meat some. So the ingredients for this seasoning mix is down below. I got it all here, gave it a good mix. I'm going to sprinkle it all over the chicken, and then I'm just going to get in with my hands and just give that a good mix. I want to make sure that all the chicken breasts are evenly coated inside the pocket, outside the pocket. Just all breasts have a even amount of seasoning, and I'm going to go ahead and pop this into the fridge. While the chicken is dry brining, the next thing we are going to work on is the stuffing, the filling for our stuffed chicken breast. So starts out with butter. Gonna get that melted down into a pan, and then here I have a pound of spinach. Now I will say you can use less spinach if you want to. This is 8 chicken breasts, so I'm using a pound. The recipe calls for 4 chicken breasts and half a pound. If you want to use less, if you want to use more like 2 ounces or 4 ounces of spinach, you go right ahead. You'll have more of a cream cheese look to your stuffed chicken breast. For me, my family, we want that more spinach look for our stuffed chicken breast for our filling. So I add a whole pound of spinach here, and basically that's just the 2 ingredients to cook down the spinach, and then the rest is just heat and time. So once I see that all the spinach is nice and wilted and has released its water, I'm going to take a couple of cloves of garlic, and I have a garlic press. If you do not have a garlic press, I suggest one. I believe this one is from OXO, and it just makes getting fresh garlic into meals so much easier. So you see I have this welfare bag of garlic from Sam's Club. I take a couple cloves, I load it up into my garlic press, and I just press that into my spinach, and then just giving that a good mix. After the spinach has been cooked and the garlic has been, infused into it, release some of its fragrances, we're going to transfer that spinach to, I have a strainer here that I'm using to catch a lot of the liquid out of the pan, and just taking a couple paper towels and just pressing a lot of that liquid out of the spinach into that bowl. Because when you mix the cream cheese with the spinach, you don't want it real watery. You want that spinach to mix nice and evenly into it. So press as much liquid as I can, and then just transfer this into a bowl, and I'm going to let this cool. After the spinach has cooled, the next thing you want to do is grab your cream cheese. Now we're going to load that into our bowl of spinach and give that a good mix. Just make sure that cream cheese is well combined. And then on the side, as you see, I have my Parmesan, my shredded cheddar, and my shredded mozzarella. These are freshly shredded cheeses, no bag cheese here. Don't want any of that nastiness, goops, funk, from the factory on my cheese. You want nice shredded cheese here. So break out your shredder and shred it by hand. But yeah, so taking that cheese and just combining it with my spinach and cream cheese mixture, and then after it has been fully mixed, gonna top it off with some onion powder and pepper. give it one good mix, and then it is ready to be stuffed into our chicken breast. Now for the stuffing, depending on how much you make, I reserved around a 1/4 to a 1/2 cup because I doubled my recipe, but you're going to reserve around that fourth cup of filling, and that's going to go into the sauce you are going to make later on. But reserve a 1/4 cup of that filling, and then the rest is going to be stuffed into your chicken breast. So as you see, I went ahead and I just placed out my sauce. I placed out my filling on all of my chicken breast just to make sure everything was nice and even. And then I went ahead and I smoothed them over, stuffed them, and I decided to seal mine with toothpicks for the initial sear that I'm going to do on my cast iron, just to get that good color and flavor on them. And then before they go in the oven, I will remove the toothpicks. So as you see here, I have all of my chicken breasts stuffed, and they are ready to get a good sear on them. So got a cast iron here, heated it up, added some canola oil into the pan, light amount of canola oil, and then just placed them 3 at a time, whatever fits in your pan. Place them into that time, and then give them 3 minutes, around 3 minutes on each side. And here we're just looking for a good color to develop, a good crust, and they are ready to go into your baking dish, because these are going to be baked at 400 degrees for around, because I tightly packed my chicken breasts and were so many, it took my chicken breasts around 40-50 minutes to cook to get up to 165 degrees. Once you have all your breasts and you're ready, I decided to top mine off with some shredded Parmesan. And then I didn't show this, but I did wrap mine in foil just to not dry them out. And I did add a little bit of chicken broth into the baking dish, so that way my chicken breast wouldn't dry out as it cooked. And just a tiny amount, maybe a couple tablespoons at the bottom. And that just helps keep the chicken breast moist as it's baking. So around halfway through, or around 75% of the way done with my chicken, I probed it. It was around 140 degrees. I decided to go ahead and get started on my sauce. So in that same pan that I seared my chicken breast in, I added butter, shallot, and garlic. And I cooked those until the shallot was cooked down a little bit and the garlic was fragrant. From there, I added my heavy cream and I added my reserved filling that I set off to the side, and gave that a good cook, then cooked it down until that sauce started to thicken. Once I saw I had nice bubbles forming, it was really heated through, I then topped it off with some shredded Parmesan, gave it a good mix, and then dipped the spoon into it, swiped the back of it to make sure the sauce stayed where it was and it wasn't runny, and the sauce was good from there. And like I said, after 40 minutes on the side, I did prepare some mashed potatoes. I prepared some asparagus, went ahead and plated that, and once my chicken was probing 165 degrees, pulled it from the oven, placed it over my bed of potatoes and asparagus, and it was done. And like I said before, I'm telling you guys, this is a recipe that you want to try. Topped it off with my sauce, and this was a top tier recipe. Every recipe I make is top tier, but for me, this one was a real top tier recipe. To be taking something inspired by a 4 or 5 star restaurant such as Ruth Chris, I think this was a good inspiration. So let me know what you guys think. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.